Hi, welcome on the platform. Vanessa Mariano here. I'm very glad to be joining today for a live. I've decided that I'm going to be coming on live. I was thinking either every Saturday or every Sunday. It would be really good to come together and just have like a mini conversation with you. I don't like to be, shouting or like to be in people's faces. Too much. So I'm very conscious of the kind of energy that I bring into my videos. I wanted to thank you for joining the platform, for following the title must have attracted you. Everything I do and have been sharing actually throughout this course is all about, what's behind, what is it that motivates our behaviors? What is it that motivates the way that we respond, right? It's a really big topic, and I've decided to use this title with my videos because everything that I do, whatever comes forward is always about, hi Therese Rose, good to see you. Everything that does kind of come through is always related to what is it that really motivates our behaviors, whether it means, choosing the, certain foods, whether it means, how are we responding to ourselves with the relationship that we have with ourselves. Or in our relationships, like with special people, with our partner, with our family. So the topic that I wanted to bring forward today, that's been on my mind actually for the last 2 days, was about the sacral chakra. Is about, so how do you keep your creative channel in flow to avoid stagnation? Now, I'm going to be sharing something like a personal story with you. And I watched recently, it was a family member's birthday, and we went to see a movie, which is totally not my, I really do like action movies, but this one was not action, like this, it was an action movie. I don't know if you heard about, is it John Wick's? And apparently there's like different series of movies. I don't know how long John Wick's has been out for, but I experienced it, like there was extreme violence, and it seemed more like, it seemed honestly more like it was more author, and the scenes was based on action, violence, and it seems like it was more like a video game. And I thought, shit, they're starting to make movies now. Now they're affecting the cinemas. They're making movies, and they're getting these ideas from these video games, which I don't play video games. I really don't know anything about it. Friends in Italy, friends here in New Zealand, some girlfriends, they sit down with their partners and they have video games, and I never really understood it. I just found it really boring. I could never get my head around it. So what I experienced was that I watched, have you heard of John Wick's, Therese? So the experience that I had sitting down is that my eyes were hurting, like literally my eyes were hurting, and I felt like there was just, I just couldn't bring myself to, I watched it to the end, but what was going in my mind was, this is not like, is this how is this what action movies is all about? Because from the action movies that I remember, I've always been very much into action movies. They're so different. It's kind of like, of course there was a storyline, but it's the speed of the movie is so fast, and I'm thinking, wow, like I'm I'm either like really behind or I'm like really far ahead, right? So the reason why I'm bringing this topic and how I'm relating it to the sacral chakra is because I literally felt something was happening to my sacral chakra whilst I was watching the movie. Like I was not feeling well at all. And what came to my mind, we know that video games are addictive. We know that certain video games are addictive. But now that the cinemas is like bringing out movies that, I don't know, they're bringing out movies with such a high level of violence, so much terror, and like, that actually happens within the body and the psyche when you are exposed to those kind of movies, to those kind of scenes. And So my experience, my personal experience, was that I couldn't keep my eyes on it, but I was literally like observing, right, myself, my body, the way that my response to, this big screen, like this, whatever was happening. And the day after, I experienced, well, first of all, I started to ask myself a number of questions about the speed at which people are living their life is so fast. And when they put these movies out, these video games, it's like they're like literally hooked, right? These people are hooked, and they are completely controlled by, I think it desensitizes people. Like that's honestly, like, all that violence, all that action, it's just desensitizing, and it's definitely abstracting the sacral chakra. Because what I experienced, because this is what I share with you, is what I lived through, and then I share it with you to see whether it kind of brings some level of understanding from your side, is that I literally felt pain in my ovaries, like my whole sacral channel, which is a creative channel, was hurting me. And and what came to me was, what are we seeing every day? Like, what are we choosing to see every day? What are we choosing to engage in every day? Because whatever we're engaging in, whatever we are, engaging our eyes with, is actually having an eternal effect with our health and our chakra system and our creativity. And our creative channel is like the seed of our life, of our expression, of our creation, the way that we are like literally creating our life. And I just wanted to put this message out today to, I guess, in a way, share with you my experience, first of all, of watching such a violent movie that was, if it was me in the past, I don't know, like, I think I would probably start crying, or I don't know what I would have done, but I wouldn't have responded the way that it's kind of like, what I've noticed is like the level of, I don't want to call it tolerance, but it's interesting how I was able to observe such a movie without like reacting. But it was more like an internal observation, and then I could see what was happening inside of me and what happened and the way that I responded to that the day after. So our creative channel, we can use that. That is a very important channel that we must protect with what we are seeing, with what we are exposing ourselves to, with people, with energies, with movies, with songs, what's coming through our ears as well. Because all of that is having like an internal effect in our psyche, which means that it's going to affect our frequency and our vibration. And when our vibration is affected, we are, we're hooked, right? We're being hooked. And that's where the external control comes in. So you may not even realize, but these external things have like a major effect, right, on you, on your behavior, the way that you are responding to people, to situations, to yourself. Talking about desensitization, it does something. And the more you are exposed to these kind of I just wanted to share that. And I guess another thing I can say about the sacral chakra is a very good way to keep it clear is to be conscious with your choices, with what you're exposing. Would you expose a 1-year-old child, to certain scenes, to certain movies, to certain words, and how is that affecting you, right? So our creative seed is something so sacred, is literally like the channel that it's our channel with the other world, right? With the spirit world. That's where we are, that's how we're inspired. The word inspiration comes from spirit. And in order for us to continue to be creative, to be inspired, it's, what can we expose ourselves to like, for this creative seed to germinate, so that when we're writing, so that we're really writing from our heart, so we're really creating something that is unique, that is ours. It's true, I've stopped watching the news, negative views of causing negative effects in our body, totally. And I'm with you, Therese, and I don't watch news. I honestly don't watch news. I don't like anything that controls. I don't, excuse me. I got a bit of a cold. Excuse me. I got some cold air yesterday because I went out for a walk with a friend. So my throat is a bit affected. Yeah, news. Some people just literally like their mind is like a sponge to everything that's going on outside. It lowers your vibration. Yes, it lowers your vibration, it lowers your energy. And I really wanted to see what kind of things, also my, certain family was exposed to as well. That's like my mind, I guess, in a way. I'm always curious to like understanding things, but I definitely wouldn't say that it was a movie. It was literally like a video game that's been plugged in, and it's invoking people to go and watch, like these companies away, it's invoking people to or drawing people, seducing people to go and watch these movies, and they're it's just horrible. I wish they had some kind of protection, that they could put on the videos, on the movies that actually get released in the cinemas. I wish there was some kind of rating, but also control of what is out there. So I'm with you, Therese. The news, I don't watch the news. There's people that are literally like glued onto the TV. They're living in fear. And so just bringing more consciousness to what we're exposing ourselves to, and that exposing yourself in a sport, in an art, in a craft, using your voice. This is something that I'm going to be getting into as well as soon as I like get my voice back. But yeah, using your voice, using your body for expression, whether it's yoga, dance, gymnastics, fitness, anything that moves, that allows those internal emotions and that spiritual energy to like really move through you, and to spark something where you're inspired to create. This is the way forward for us, in order to be motivated by good behavior, not good behavior, but good behaviors, I guess, and say that. It's all about how we are treating, how we are feeding our body, whether it's from food. It's not only from food. Food is a really big component, because food is treated like medicine for our body. But it's definitely about what we are exposing ourselves to conversation, talk, like I was saying, music. There's so many things. And are you going to be in control of the vibration that you are exposing your body to, your energy to? Because believe it or not, that is going to have a really massive effect. So I was, I could see myself as, I was kind of like an investigator. Like I am an investigator of my own body, and I always try to understand what is going on, and I always backtrack. So I knew that wasn't a movie. I didn't realize what level of violence there was in this action movie. I thought action is, guns and fighting and like martial arts, that kind of thing. But this one was just really intense. So yeah, so this is something that I wanted to like bring forward. And, brothers, siblings, nieces, nephews, family members, like I'm Italian, and I know for a fact that there's a lot of like mafia movies. There's like so many ruthless movies that I saw one. It was a ruthless movie. It was based on a mafia true story. It was called The Rebellious Sicilian. Sicilian is the person that comes from Sicily, from the south part of Italy, which is you can call it like the soccer ball of the boot of Italy, right? When you look at the shape of it. And that movie was, there was violence, but there was like a trauma, there was like a story behind it, there was emotions, there was, there was like a lot of drama like that came with that. And I watched it because I was interested to see what life was about in South Italy. And because I grew up in Italy and my family's Italian, the the code, the code of silence is very much embedded in the culture, with religion and all of that. And I wanted to see, I just wanted to see I wanted to, see what the life of this woman was like. She came from a family that was in the mafia, and the father was the lead, and he got his son involved and his nephew involved, and they wanted to, well, the mother was very quiet, so she would hide the truth from the village, and it was something that wasn't spoken about. So the code of silence, it's omerta in Italian, and it's what is going on as well with molestation that happens in the churches and schools. It's like that code of silence that puts the victim to shame so that they don't speak up. I don't know why I'm bringing this movie through, but this is one of the movies that's really impacted me. That was there was aggression, there was violence, but there was a storyline that I was drawn to, to see. It really exposes people to a reality that is so much infused in cultures these days. About this shame, about fear, and about people not speaking up when something is done wrong. And it's quite scary to be a witness to that, because a mafia was not just like a family. It was like, sometimes it wasn't just even like a village or a city. It was like connections that went from all over the world, and they were strong. It's kind of like a corporation, right? And this woman she ended up dying because the lawyer that was protecting her from the mafia gang, from the mob, was killed. His name is Borsellino. They even did a movie on him, where I think he was driving through like a tunnel, and they put a bomb in his car or in the tunnel. And anyway, he died. So she was so afraid of not having his protection, because Borsellino's a man in Italy that was actually, he was exposing elements of the mafia. He what's the word? Uncovered who the mafia was and where they were and all the people that were involved in it. So he actually got a lot of people imprisoned. But then when he was killed, that's why they killed him, because he actually revealed, and he was putting justice. This is a story that happened, I don't know whether it was in the 70s or in the 80s, but there was a movie on this. And anyway, so when he was killed, it's really sad, she had an apartment in Rome, and she jumped she jumped out of the window. She committed suicide. It's the fear that led her to lose her own life. When you don't feel that you have that protection, when you don't feel that you have that support around you. It was an intense movie, but I promise you that's one of the best movies I've seen in my life. It's one of the best movies that I've seen in my life. And it's kind of like it intensified the whole submission, the whole submission of what women live through, and like what society lives through until now even, because it's been so spread out. The mentality has been so spread through the families, through the citizen, through, civilization over there. So I just wanted to share that with you. But yeah, let's be careful what we're exposing ourselves to. Medicine is definitely like related to food. Food is a big component, but it's not the only thing that that is responsible, that affects our wellness. It's also our environment. Our friends. How are they speaking to us? How are our friends treating us? And how are they speaking to us? What are we accepting? What are we letting in? And so I'm speaking from a space of like observation of yourself, not from a space of like reaction and like, if you don't understand what where I'm coming from. It brings me back to the question of what is it that motivates our behaviors. So every decision that we make every day is actually it's like the fuel to what is motivating our behavior. And this is why I encourage young people, older people, to just bring more awareness on that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, I guess it's just a conversation that I wanted to open up and bring forward. You know, you can't change people. That's not my intention at all, to judge or to say anything. It's just to like really open a conversation and to create the space of like reflection, right? Because it's having that space of reflection and of conversation that we can be conscious when it comes to making, behaving in a certain way, right? What kind of member in society are we being? How are we contributing to our community, to our family? All of that. One thing I struggled with as an adult when I came back to New Zealand living at home was TV was watched a lot at home, and even when I was staying with my grandparents over in Italy, and it hurt my ears. I think it's also related to the accident that I had, the left brain trauma that I had when I was run over riding a bicycle in South Italy. Because apparently when you have a head injury, loud sounds affect you, and also your level of tolerance is very finite. And I remember now I'm so much better now. I think meditation has actually helped to heal the neural pathways of my brain and the part that was actually damaged. But even my mother, like I would turn into conflict with her because I would be on the phone and she would have all this noise in the phone and I would like just jump. It would be like something would pierce through my brain. But also, television, my grandparents would have really, the television was really loud at home because I lived with my grandparents for the time that I was in Italy. For about a year and a half, and so a lot of news, a lot of TV around me, but I always tried to like shut my ears. That's why I always really just preferred to hang out with my cousins and my aunties. I would always do anything that I could to be out of the house. And within my mum's home, the television, I would always say, Mum, why don't you like I don't know, I think we used to say, and it's not that I was trying to control, it's just that first of all the sound affected me, and it was literally like harming me, and she didn't understand it. Like she would argue back with me. She wouldn't understand why I would be so intolerant. And she kind of took it as a way that I was trying to control her. But then it was only after like through researching and through investigations that I've done on my own, so like on just on mindfulness, I guess, and the brain injuries and what that causes, like to your personality and your outlook and your behaviors and all of that. So through that's when I realized that there's a very low tolerance in sound when you have a brain injury. So anyway, and I remember my mum always playing these, she loves like detective movies, which I love as well. I don't like the violence part at all. But that's why I grew up in a home like my mum. She's always watched lots of movies, and a lot of these movies are Italian, based on real stories and true stories. Even Borsellino, I know about the story, even though I lived overseas for so long, because my stepfather's a lawyer, and I think he knew him in Italy. He had connections with him, and I remember he would come home and share these stories. So so all these investigative like movies are intriguing. They're intricate, they're intriguing, there's so much psychology in them. And that's something that's really, I think, attracted me to action movies. But definitely not John Wick's. Like that's definitely not an action movie that I would go and watch again. So it's just crazy. Like, honestly, having resources, being exposed to knowledge, knowing things can create such a shift, can make such a difference when it comes to the way that we are communicating, and when it comes to like our relationships. I think, now I can tell my mum if I'm at home and her phone rings, because it rings really loud. I used to like literally, would nearly start crying. That's how painful it would be for me. And I would say, Mum, can you please turn your phone down? And she would be like, why do I need to turn my phone down? And it's like, well, because it's really hurting my ears. Whereas after I, found out the reason behind all of that, then I brought forward like a conversation to my family. And I was like, Mum, when I had the accident, like that caused, an injury that is, that's, affecting, my hearing or whatever it was. And I said to her, I approached her with a more reasonable conversation about the reason why, loud sounds affected me. So she understood. And then she became compassionate, because I think initially she was taking it as if I wanted to control her, or I was telling her, I was like stopping her, or like affecting it, like stopping her from doing what she wanted, which is funny and interesting. But and then I think she made a friend. I think she became friends with somebody that that had a brain. He had a brain injury. I don't know what happened to him. He had a brain injury, and then he said, I have like a very sensitive hearing, and I can't stand loud noises because of a head injury that I had, or because of an accident. So I think that kind of deepened the understanding for my mum, to understand, what was behind it. So that was fascinating, and I kind of studied that further. I actually went deeper into that. So these are things that I love to spend my time doing, I don't know what you like to spend your time doing, I know, Therese, you love, I love the recipes that you share with us, and a lot of things that you share on your page. I'm so passionate about food as well, and health, and, using food as medicine. That really lights me up. I love, learning about new ingredients, creating new dishes, sharing that with friends and family. I've been a hermit for so long, and I've come out of my shell. So now I'm more with people. So I'm going to be looking forward to using, to creating these recipes and like sharing them with like friends and family. So I guess that's really about understanding what our passion is, understanding what we're passionate about, what really motivates us, what pushes us, what drives us. Maybe investigating or asking ourselves questions. What is it that keeps coming up? You see that stops you from kind of like moving forward, or that creates conflict. Like an example that I just shared with you was, the television always being on and loud, and how that affected me, and how it brought conflict all the time wherever I was living, either when I was with my grandparents or my mum. Created big conflicts, and it wasn't until I, found out, what was happening behind the reason of like me having so little tolerance with those sounds and stuff. It opened up a conversation with my family at a completely different level, right? Sometimes there was a post that I read, Alana put a post about trauma, and she said trauma makes you build a very high tolerance to to situations. That's what the post said. And but it doesn't mean that we need to put up with it. So that's very true. You build so much tolerance, but it doesn't mean that we need to put up with it. So with me, the pain that I was going through every time the phone rang or the television was loud, I was suffering in silence. Like nobody understood me. And it wasn't until I actually spoke about it with another, it was like gradual, with a girlfriend in Russia. And she can't stand these sounds, the flicking of like pens and, paper being, like, yeah, like the noise of paper, like scrunching up paper. She's very sensitive to that. And there's a name for it. I think it's called, oh, not, the name's not coming. I don't know if you guys know the name, but it's a terminology, and I looked that up as well. It's when you're very sensitive to noises, and a lot of people that are like that, they tend to not be so much exposed to like environments where there's a lot of people, where there's a lot of noise, like concerts or things like that. There's a name for it. I don't know whether you remember. I want to see if I can find the name because it's so interesting. And I didn't know. And I said, it's so interesting how you say that, because she actually put a name to it. I was like, shit, maybe I got that as well. And it was only after that I realized it was the accident that kind of causes intolerance, to high sound. So let's see. I'll put here. Like maybe loud sound intolerance, maybe? There's a name for it and it's just not coming up. Noise sensitivity. Yes, it's noise sensitivity, but there's a name for it. There's a medical term for it, which probably, it's not autism. It's probably an effect. Oh man. Okay, doesn't matter. 4 types of sound sensitivity. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Hyperacusis. I don't know. That's not the one. There's a term. There's a term anyway. I'm happy to find it and to actually share it in the group or on the page when I find it, and I'll put the meaning of it. Okay, it's just really interesting. So if you do have intolerances of that sort, like I would just invite you to just to listen to that. It's gotten very dark in here. To listen to that and to know that there's a reason behind it, and that you can take care of your hearing, you can take care of your what you're exposing yourself to. So I'm going to bring this video to an end. I think it's been about half an hour. It's 31 minutes. So sending you lots of love. If you do have any questions about the topics that I've actually brought forward today, just let me know. I'm going to hang out with my family today. Luigi Mariano, ciao. Ciao. Auguri per il compleanno. So my cousin's online, and I just said happy birthday to her because it was her birthday. I think it was like yesterday. But sending you lots of love, and I'm going to be coming on either every Saturday, but I think or Sunday. I think Sunday's going to be a good day actually to come on. I think Sunday's actually a good day to come on. Oh, Therese, you've got a message. Let me see. Living in your passion is so important. People probably think I'm broken because I post stuff about healing, but it's because I'm in love with healing myself, of course, and others over and over again, of course. And I understand this passion of yours. It doesn't matter what people think. Their thoughts is based on where they're at. So I feel it's something we can never stop doing. Yeah, it creates positive awakenings, which equals growth. It's so important to surround ourselves with positive people, sounds, education, and nature. You make so much sense. Yeah, exactly, Therese. And people are always going to have thoughts and opinions about what it is that we post, what it is that we talk about. But what you do is really about you. Like you're doing it because it's your passion, and that's your vessel, right? Like that's your space, that's your energy field that nobody, anonymity. This is a term that I've been using, and also it's who you are. It's who defines you. Nobody can mess with that, right? In the past, I've stopped. I remember when I had a karaoke session, and I actually shared this with a friend of mine. I had a conversation with him. It's like I want to use my writing as lyrics. I've always loved music. I grew up in a home where my mum, she's highly creative. My mother, she's always been very talented with her hands. Like she's always been a very good, artist and embroider, chef. She's just very clever, very, very smart, and she's always been very passionate about music and dance. So I was very lucky because I grew up in a household, and I knew about, even if I've lived overseas for a long time, even if I have lived in Italy, but I know a lot of artists, and I know a lot of old movies, and I know a lot of old songs as well because of that. because my mum always had stacks of CDs and movies, you know, in the house. And yeah, and oh my God, what was I saying? I completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, like if we surround ourselves with, like if we, that's right, I think I was, oh yeah, that's what I was saying about what people's judgments, yeah, and our passions. Like us, a lot of people don't pursue their passions because they are so like affected, and I've been affected, you know, like we've all been, I think, at some level affected by what by people's judgments. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, that's like the biggest killer, is like judgment. And yes, this is what I was talking about, I was getting to. So I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was like, you know, I've got writing that I want to use, and I want to use it as, you know, text, like lyrics. And I've always attracted creatives in my life, and like musicians, and I've always found myself meeting very interesting people. So it's kind of like being, I think, singing and you know, singing has always been that kind of dream that I've always tucked in my drawer, because I never thought I had a good voice until I remember I went to a karaoke, and there was a group of people that I didn't really know. It was a friend's birthday, but she brought some friends over, and we had a karaoke session. And the way the system worked is that you choose a song with the background, and then you start singing, and then at the end of the song you get rated for, you know, how well you've done. And I remember it was the first time I'd ever sung in public, and I was surprisingly, like, I wasn't shy. I just got back from Italy, so I was so used to being like around my friends, around family and grandparents, and I just felt really charged, you know, socially. And I sung, and like I really got comfortable with a microphone in my hand, and I wanted to sing the next song. It's not like I was just there; it was just me holding the microphone. There was other microphones going around, but I remember there was a person on the other end of the room, and she looked at me, um, like not very kindly, like not very nice. Like the look wasn't very nice. And the comment was quite offensive. You know, she's like, and you know, it was from the tone as well. Something about, you know, passing on the mic, or, you know, something like that. But after I sung that song, the system rated me like 100%. I think I was singing like a Mariah Carey song, and the system voted me like 100%, 100 out of 100. And in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, like, do these systems actually work? Like, are they sure they actually heard my voice, how I was singing? But it was like, obviously, you know, it was what I was rated. So it was like a machine was telling me, you know, the level of my ability. But then socially, I didn't really get any support. And not that I was seeking it, right? If anything, it was just like observing again how this woman that I didn't really know, how she responded to me, and I thought it was a bit nasty. But and since then, I remember making a decision. Like, that was a turning point for me. I made a decision, and I said, I'm not going to sing. No, it's like the part of me that wanted to sing, like in that moment that I discovered that singing voice, I ignored it. Right? I didn't like nurture it. I didn't listen to that. But what I did decide was that I'm never going to go out with people I don't know again. Like, that was my conclusion. I'm like, stuff socializing with people I don't know. Like, you know, people are nasty, women are nasty. Like, it was actually really hurtful. So what you're saying, Therese, you know, I love that you are posting, that you do post all the things that you're passionate about, and it's really for nobody to, you know, people are going to have opinions, you know, we can't stop them from expressing their own opinions, but realistically, like, the way that I see it is that whatever I do it for myself. I do it for myself, you know, and I'm sure that you, like you said, you're doing it for yourself because you love everything that encompasses medicine and health, and it's revitalizing. You know, it boosts you. You know, it gives you confidence. Gives me confidence. You know, when I share about things that I'm good at as well. And then that confidence, what I'm experiencing as well is that you can transmit the same confidence in other areas of your life, where if you want to up level on another skill. So even if you are not You know, even if I'm not a trained singer, it's not going to stop me from developing the skills that I need in order to be a good singer, so that I can actually use my lyrics and put myself out there even more, like to another level, right? Yeah, because if we need to wait for praise from other people, we're not going to go very far. You know, that's how I see it. So thank you for sharing your wisdom, Therese, and thank you for sharing your story as well. We all need, you know, we do need support, and this is why it's important that we do surround ourselves with people that see us. You know, people that see us. When people see me, I was having a conversation with Samantha, my friend, and we were just talking about when we were younger, and like her mother always got on really well with her mum, and she's very psychic and she's very intuitive, and I said to Sammy, I was like, you know, your mum, she always really adored me, and like I felt there was so much respect from her, and she was like, Vanessa, it's because she saw you, like she could see you, and I was like, yeah, you know, and it feels good, you know, when you know someone can see you when you're treated with love and respect. So anything that is outside of love and respect, I'm not liking this light. I'm so sorry if the lighting is not good. But yeah, so if I'm not liking the way that I'm being treated, then obviously that shows who they are, and therefore, you know, they help me to make a decision as to, you know, where they stand in my life, you know. So I'm sending you a lot of love again. I'm definitely going to say goodbye now. I'm going to head off to my mom's, and I will see you again next week. Okay, have a fabulous rest of the weekend. I know it's Saturday night over in the other side of the world, and it is Sunday on this side of New Zealand and Australia.